After a relationship ends or after something emotionally important falls apart, there's a feeling that can show up once some of the intensity starts to settle. And sometimes it catches people off guard because it's not always sadness, it's not always heartbreak in the obvious sense. Sometimes it's directionlessness. It's that strange feeling of not really knowing what to do with yourself, not knowing where to put your energy, not knowing what you're even supposed to be moving toward now. And that can feel confusing because from the outside, your life might look exactly the same. You still have responsibilities, you still have your routines, you still have things that technically need your attention. But internally, something feels very different. Like the emotional center of what you were organizing around is suddenly gone. And this is where something important needs to be understood. When you become emotionally attached to someone, your nervous system doesn't just attach to the person, it starts attaching to what that person represents: the connection, the anticipation, the emotional rhythm, the imagined future, the possibility of what life might become, even the version of you that started forming inside of that possibility. So when it ends, you don't just lose contact, you lose orientation. And when I say orientation, I just mean that internal sense of this is where my energy is going, this is what I'm building toward, this is what matters right now. Because whether people realize it or not, human beings organize around meaning, emotionally, mentally, even physically. Your nervous system likes orientation because orientation creates predictability. And predictability often feels safer to the body. So when your system knows this person matters, this is where my attention goes, this is what I'm emotionally moving toward, that's their structure, even if the relationship itself was uncertain. But when that disappears, your system can feel disoriented, not because you have no purpose anymore, but because part of your emotional direction was tied to something that no longer exists anymore. And you can feel that as emptiness, flatness, low motivation, a kind of restlessness, almost like your energy has nowhere to fully land. You want to move, but nothing feels meaningful enough to hold your attention to. And that can be incredibly frustrating at times because part of you knows I need to keep going, I need to move on, but another part of you quietly asks toward what exactly. And this is usually the point where people try to fill the space quickly, not because they're weak, but because emptiness is uncomfortable. So they distract themselves. They try to chase new attention, work nonstop, train harder, get out more, stay constantly busy. They try to prove to themselves that they're okay. And to be clear, none of those things are automatically unhealthy. Structure can help, movement can help, training can absolutely help regulate your body, work can restore your momentum. But the intention does matter because if those things are only being used to outrun that emptiness, then the directionlessness doesn't actually resolve. It just gets buried. Because what your system needs in that moment isn't just more stimulation, it needs reorientation, meaning it needs time to slowly learn Where does my energy go now? What am I organizing around now? Who am I becoming now that this is no longer a part of my life anymore? And that takes time because for a while, your system may still be looking for that old orientation, the messages, the person, the emotional rhythm, the future you two imagined. This is why something as simple as waking up and instinctively reaching for your phone can suddenly feel heavy now, or finishing work and feeling that quiet emotional drop because there's no one you're expecting to talk to anymore. No conversations to anticipate, no emotional thread pulling your attention forward. And in those quiet moments, you can feel the absence more clearly. That's not weakness, that's your nervous system noticing something I was orienting around now is gone. And because of that, the way forward usually gets misunderstood because people think I need a brand new purpose immediately. But usually that's too big of a jump. It starts smaller than that. It starts with reconnecting to your own life again. Not the imagined one, your actual life. That might look like returning to your routines, not to distract yourself, but to create stability. Training, not to numb the feeling, but to reconnect with your body. Working towards something meaningful, not to prove your worth, but to rebuild internal direction. Even sitting in the emptiness sometimes without immediately escaping it, so your system learns this feeling is uncomfortable, but I can survive it. And that matters. Because every time you stay present with the emptiness without immediately running from it, your nervous system learns something new. It learns that absence is painful, but not dangerous. And that creates space for new orientation to form. Because after something ends, you're not just grieving the person, you're grieving the future, the identity, the emotional direction that was formed around them, which is why this often takes longer than most people expect. So, if you feel directionless right now, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not behind, you're not failing. Your system is just reorienting. And slowly, as you stop organizing your life around what was lost, you begin to feel your own direction again. Not as some dramatic breakthrough, but just as a quiet return, a little more energy, a little more clarity, a little more connection to what actually matters. And eventually, you start moving forward, not because you're trying to escape the past, but because your life genuinely starts feeling like yours again.